Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to review why the banks hate crypto and yet there is nothing they can do about it. So this is the current system that we live in. Our current system is a top-down system where society has its assets flow to the few. The reason this is this way is because the government and the banks are connected. They facilitate it, this control mechanism through the banks. The banks are the toolkit for how the government enforces this system, an unnatural system where the wealth flows from the many to the few. Now, we know that gold exists and Bitcoin exists, but this is not enough. Like when I say crypto, I'm not talking about just Bitcoin. I'm talking about the altcoins in addition to Bitcoin. Bitcoin does bring us some freedoms, but it doesn't solve the issue. And the reason why we know this is the case is because gold has been around as well, and it has failed to stop this from happening, stop this flow of resources from the many to the few. In the current paradigm that we exist. And by the way, the Federal Reserve is one of the mechanisms that all of this is facilitated. And the ability to print money and issue it to whomever they want is one of the mechanisms that they use to do this. But even though we do have store value things like gold and Bitcoin, the reason why this won't stop the system from take the power back from the banks is because of this very mechanism right here, where you watching this, you're one of the few who, the people who watch this channel, you're one of the few who actually cares about what the Federal Reserve is and understands what money is and understands what crypto is. And, you can look at the numbers in this channel. It's also like a relatively small channel, super small channel. You're one of the few. Actually, speaking about polls and data, there's only 7% of the population that even knows what the Federal Reserve even is. Okay, so when there's such a few amount of people who actually care and is engaged and is knowledgeable, this system, it doesn't really matter if there's a store value system because so few people will ever bother to understand the system anyways. And so they can perpetuate a system where, society is unnatural and kept at an unnatural order of taking from everyone, keeping everyone small, and not allowing for society to grow at a faster rate, a healthier pace. It's because so few people can even have, so few people actually even care to understand what money is. So this is how one of the mechanisms. This is one of the mechanisms that they use to perpetuate the system of control is the fact that so few people are even aware and taking action and thinking about it. So if Bitcoin doesn't solve this, and gold doesn't solve it, what will solve this extraction relationship, right? What will eventually get us out of a system where our money works against us, our money robs us of wealth, the situation robs us of wealth, or the whole dynamic, the whole society, and makes it to where you have to work your life away for funds. So how do we beat this system? Why? This is what I'm going to get to. So let's go ahead and describe what banks even do. They do loans, which is decide who wins and how. The banks decide who gets the free money. Now, when a bank makes a loan, it makes money out of thin air. This is what the Federal Reserve System does. This is what the banking system does. Only specific entities that have their relationship, the gang relationship. This gang relationship, it's a gang. They are the only ones who can decide what kind of business is viable and who gets these loans. That is the system that we exist in. They create money out of thin air, and that robs those that robs society. When they create these loans, they rob society by making money out of thin air. They rob the people who save, these people who are unaware of what's going on. They rob them. They rob them of their productivity. They rob them of their wealth. They rob them of their livelihoods, and they perpetuate this system. So the banks do this by being the gang relationship with the government. They also control state borders. Banks can say what can and cannot cross through jurisdictional lines. Those jurisdictional lines are the connections with other external banks. So that's how governments maintain a control relationship over their citizens, ensuring that there is such thing as a border system, and they perpetuate their power, the gang, through those borders. And they can also, the banks, issue and control companies. They manage company shares. Okay, so we know, let me just highlight what we just covered. Store of value is, and Bitcoin Gold store of value isn't going to solve this, right? But what does solve this? Crypto. It solves the loan issue with DeFi. It allows peer-to-peer lending to each other. People no longer need to, the banks are no longer deciding what is a viable business. Individuals can, and private companies that don't have this gang relationship, who can create. Bitcoin helps a lot in the creation money problem, and so does gold. But this is only for those who understand. And this one will be for everyone. But what I'm talking about here is people won't have to know. These things will be solved inevitably from the forces of nature. That's what we're going to get to. Like, this video is titled, Why the Banks Hate Crypto. And there's nothing they can do to stop it. Okay, so that's the very nature of this video. It's just to say why it's inevitable that crypto will eat the world. Okay, and so we know that Bitcoin solves this element, so does gold. But this DeFi will become attractive naturally through competitive means by loaning to business models that actually are viable and don't have these gangster permission system. And that will be a perpetuating system that will attract value, flow, money, talent, etc. Which it'll do this. There is also the border system where cheaper capital, cheaper mindsets, human beings across borders. There's a more efficient model where crypto just ignores borders altogether. These capital controls, these perpetual gang mechanisms that the government uses through its border system, it's ignored by crypto. There is no borders. And then there's finally the ability to issue and control, manage the company shares, manage company value metrics through software. Banks, they're in this whole system. L1s, basically any crypto with logic will be able to manage those things and add programmability to it. And so that will be more of an attractive thing. So why do they hate crypto? Why do the banks hate crypto? It's because crypto, through those mechanisms, will inevitably destroy this system that we have now, where all of society's wealth is extracted and given to the few. The whole thing perpetuated by the Federal Reserve, not solved by store value, because we already know gold didn't solve it. We know that Bitcoin's not going to solve it. What we need is all the functions of banking, because banks are the means that the Fed perpetuates its control mechanism. This whole control mechanism is enforced through the Federal Reserve, enforced through this cartel, this system that we have. The crypto will solve this. So that's the reason they hate it. Because crypto will end their power, income, and control through regulatory capture, right? So this gang relationship will end through crypto. So they hate it. And that's the reason Elizabeth Warren and the other people like her have done everything in their power to end it. Because Elizabeth Warren, she talks about being against the banks. But in reality, she's a puppet of the banks. She works with them. She says one thing to the social democrats, people who think they're doing well but in reality, she works directly with the banks to stop any competition from rising. That's the go-to political capture type of instrument. So let me give you an example. So often it is the oil companies that push for regulations with climate change, because those oil companies will be able to kill any competition like nuclear from arising and competing with their energy distribution cartel. So that's the way it works. Like, usually the people who say that they're against something are actually the ones who are working for those corporations that are doing the opposite of what they say. So like, for instance, a entity that says we need to make climate change regulation a thing is often working for the big oil companies which are destroying the environment. Same thing with Elizabeth Warren. She says we hate the banks. We need to make regulations for citizens to protect them. But in reality, she's working for the banks so that she can keep that gangster organization alive. So why can't they stop it? Why is it inevitable? It's because of the one thing banks can't do that is the most powerful force ever created by humankind. So there's a major reason. I already said that market forces will bring about the demise inevitably. But what's going to speed it up? Well, we have the most powerful invention that humanity has ever made and will ever make is, or has made to date. Who knows what about inevitably. And that is AI. Banks are not compatible with artificial intelligence. This is the most powerful tool that mankind has ever made to date. More powerful than language. It's going to be more powerful than anything. It's going to change society more than any invention we've ever made. AI is either going to be the end of us or bring us into a whole new paradigm, a whole new reality. That's how powerful it is. It might sound like I'm exaggerating, but when you decouple human intelligence, when you decouple intelligence from human beings, and you make intelligence a commodity, that's the most powerful thing that humanity has ever made, and to date. So, why are banks incompatible with AI? It's because what is the system that we have now? This banking cartel. This banking cartel. There's the things that go inside of the banks, which is the whole system right now is inside of the banks, which is code, money, borders, accounts, etc. They're inside of this bank mechanism, and that because they're controlled, it is the fact that they're controlled. It is the fact that they're permissioned. The nature of it, the very fundamental nature of it. That is the reason why it will fail, because a control system is too slow. It is slow and permissioned. Because the banking system because it's controlled by human beings, that is the reason it will inevitably fail. And what we're going to move to is an AI system, and that's what's going to break the system. Look, the system's going to break down in many different ways, but this is one of the things that will break. Is this cartel, this particular cartel? Now, all of society is capable of breaking. We're playing Russian roulette with humanity. That's how powerful AI is. It might end all of it, right? But this particular cartel is going to break as well. And AI is going to bring about the destruction of that cartel. And one of the means that it'll do it is through crypto. And the reason why crypto will allow for this system to perpetuate is because it allows for code, accounts, money, and borders, and the outside systems to all connect to each other in a network. The code will be 1 billion times faster because it's not human beings doing it. Now, yeah, sure, the banks could write AI that can write code, but open source AI and AI that is just allowed to run freely is going to move billions of times faster than a permission system. So the code development outside of this banking system, the code that exists on the outside will move 1 billion times faster and will develop that much faster, and the products and services will be that much faster. The accounts will be on devices. Banks can't do that. They cannot have bank accounts. Your refrigerator cannot have a bank account. So the AI system will have bank accounts. AI will have accounts. Your fridge will have accounts. Software will have accounts. That's what crypto allows for. Humans will have accounts. In this system, it's as slow through the control system. Your refrigerator can't have an account. Your code can't have an account. So and even if they do come up with a system like that, it will be extremely slow. Money, microtransactions that are like pennies can also have accounts. And so it's one of the many things, like tiny little accounts can exist with money that, that's one of these connections. That's not possible with the current paradigm. So that means for whole new business models based on tiny little fractions of pennies, etc., that can exist in software, and also large amounts of money, moving large amounts of money as well. If you want to move hundreds of $millions of dollars, it'll cost a couple bucks in crypto. In a banking system, moving hundreds of millions of dollars will get a bunch of eyeballs and will be slow, and there'll be all kinds of problems with that. And in the AI system, crypto system, there's no borders. So once again, billions of times faster. You won't have to work with those stupid borders. So hopefully this video gives you a nice little summary, an idea of why this is inevitable, why crypto is inevitable. I know there's just not many people left in crypto right now, but hey, this is why I'm more bullish than ever. Like lots of people are about to make life-changing wealth in the crypto industry. If you're still here, you're probably one of them. You might already be wealthy because the only people that have made it to this point are the people who are capable of thinking outside the box, and they use their minds, and they don't chase trends. They just see things the way they are. They think logically, and they're capable of investing in situations like right now, where crypto is this huge, big opportunity, and they don't swing around with the emotions. They just allocate logically, and they just wait. So that's where we are today. Excited for the future. This is, like we're in that time, that accumulation zone for crypto, and I hope you guys found this educational, or if at all, it could just remind you of the basics of why this industry is inevitable. All right, later, guys.